Welcome back to The Count, where we're counting down the major stories of the week. Joining us now is the only legendary Dick Morris. He's an advisor to President Trump. Dick Morris also has a great new book out. It's called The Real Charlie Kirk. It's a powerful tribute to his life, his courage, and of course, his mission. Dick Morris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
First, tell us about your book and what made you write it.
Well, it talks about Charlie Kirk and his efforts to change American politics by taking voters who are under the age of 30, who are voting against Trump, and increasingly flipping them and making them understand the value of what Trump is pointing out. But the thing that I'd like to focus on mainly is his death, unfortunately, because I believe that he was murdered by obviously transsexual people who had been ginned up to a fury by the left wing to constitute almost a hit squad against conservatives. And I'm commenting on that because I think this is continuing. Trans people are not being discriminated against. There is no racism against them. There's no phobia against them. They're not segregated. There are no quotas. There are no laws against them. The worst that is that they can't play in men's sports. That's not so terrible. But yet the left wing has taken that fact and magnified it so much that it has created a fury among trans people that has led to things like the murder of Charlie Kirk. And it's almost like creating stormtroopers, Nazis themselves, who are just motivated by hate and rage and set forth among a population that does not deserve it and did nothing to trigger it. And I'm worried that it took Charlie Kirk's life. I'm worried that it's going to take other people's lives.
I want to pivot now to another issue that Charlie was very passionate about, and that was about people voting and about preserving conservative values. The Republican ticket, New Jersey, it could turn red. We're seeing Chitterelli. He's right up there neck and neck with his Democrat challenger. New York City could be taken over, though, by a charismatic communist. I don't know what poll to believe when it comes to Zohran Mamdani. Election day is just a few days away. Do you think New York City is ready? I mean, do people understand just how pivotal and important this election is?
They are getting to understand that in New Jersey. They do not yet get it in New York. And I'm very optimistic about Chitterelli's chances, but very pessimistic about the situation in New York. But we have to understand that if Zohran Mamdani, he's going to become the poster child for the Democratic Party. When people think of the Democratic Party, they're going to think of Mamdani and AOC. And ultimately, it's the best way we have of illustrating how crazy the Democrats have become, how anti-Semitism has become their theme, their vibe. And I think that will send shockwaves throughout the Jewish community in New York and nationally, and could result in real change and real progress.
And Dick, you know, what do you think about Mamdani, that it's only now kind of surfacing how anti-police he is? He says, you know, when the NYPD puts their boot on your neck, it's been laced by the IDF. And then, of course, his lie about his aunts. This guy seems to be a charlatan. I don't even know who he really is. We know he's a failed rapper. We know he has no work experience. We know he's a Nepo baby. What do you think about his chances? And then, of course, as a Republican challenger, Curtis Sliwa, the calls for him to drop out, they continue. What are your thoughts?
Well, Sliwa obviously is the one who should be elected. Many of the policies that Cuomo is pushing, that Mamdani is pushing, were invented by Cuomo. The idea of sanctuary cities, the idea of arrest without bail, letting people go. Those were all pioneered by Andrew Cuomo. And he passed some of them into law in New York State. So that's why Sliwa, I think, deserves a lot of support. But I think that the Mamdani vote is kind of a hysterical reaction from nihilists. A nihilist is somebody who doesn't believe in anything believes in not believing in it. And I think that you're looking at that in New York. And I think that the problem for America is that that's going to become the face of the Democratic Party. When people think of the Democratic Party, they're going to think of this nut, and they're going to think of the kind of phobias that you've been exposing earlier on the show. And I think that's unfair to the Democrats, but I think it's very useful to the Republicans.
Dick, we have less than a minute. You were an advisor to Bill Clinton. Many people, including myself, once upon a time, we were Democrats. But if this guy, if he is elected to be the mayor of the capitalist capital of the world, what does that tell you about the Democrat Party?
Well, it's gotten so deformed, so degenerate. I've said this a couple of times. What happens when the Democrats lose an election is they react by moving to the left, not by moving to the center, but by moving to the left. And they nominate increasingly crazy candidates until the country gets it and pulls them up short. After Jimmy Carter was defeated by Ronald Reagan, they nominated Dukakis and Mondale. And it took a long time for Clinton, we both like, to bring them back to sanity and to bring them back to the center. And you're watching that, and I think Democrats are going to be basically self-immolating imploding in a firestorm of crazy, crazy rhetoric.
Dick Morris, thank you so much, sir, for joining us.